2 in the morning. You are asleep. Suddenly, glass shatters downstairs. Someone has broken into your home. You grab your weapon. A few seconds later, the intruder is dead. Now the question, was that self-defense or murder? The answer is surprisingly simple. It depends on where you live. The exact same action, the exact same circumstances can lead to completely different legal outcomes depending on the country. But that raises a bigger question. Why should an invisible line on a map decide how much force you may use to defend your own life? Today, we compare 3 legal systems: Germany, Texas, and the Czech Republic, not to decide which is morally superior, but to ask, what incentives does each create? Because laws don't just punish behavior, they shape it. Let's keep the scenario exactly the same. Middle of the night, an intruder illegally enters a private home. The homeowner fights back. The intruder dies. Nothing changes, except the country. Germany recognizes a broad right to self-defense against an ongoing unlawful attack, but every case is carefully examined. Was the attack imminent? Did the danger still exist? Was the response legally covered? German law focuses heavily on the specific circumstances. Texas approaches it differently. Under doctrines like the Castle Doctrine, homeowners may get broader protection against intruders. The philosophy, if you break into someone's home, you accept a significant risk for what happens next. The Czech Republic is comparatively liberal for Europe, less restrictive firearm ownership and a broad right to self-defense. The philosophy, the state must provide security, but citizens shouldn't be completely dependent on it in the face of immediate danger. For a moment, imagine you are the burglar planning a break-in. You don't know exactly what will happen, but you have expectations. Maybe the homeowner is asleep, maybe they call the police, maybe they run, or maybe they fight back. Those expectations determine your risk, and your risk influences your decision. This isn't unique to criminals, entrepreneurs, employees, politicians, consumers. Every human being acts under uncertainty and responds to incentives. That's one of the most fundamental ideas in economics, and one of the most important in law. So far, we've only talked about what happens after a break-in, but maybe that's the wrong place to start. Laws aren't designed merely to resolve conflicts. Their real purpose is to influence decisions before conflicts ever happen. A burglar performs a calculation, not with a calculator but mentally. What's the reward? The probability of getting caught. Will the homeowner resist? How dangerous is this target? Praxeology studies exactly this. Human act. Compare alternatives and choose what they believe leaves them better off. Every legal rule changes those expectations. And changing expectations, changing behavior, long before a judge ever enters the story. Let's revisit our 3 countries, not as lawyers, but as economists. In one system, an intruder may expect relatively limited resistance. In another, they may believe the homeowner is far more likely to defend themselves. Whether those expectations turn out to be true isn't the point. The expectation itself changes human behavior. That's the invisible power of law. Economists constantly talk about prices, but prices don't only exist in markets. The legal system creates prices too, not measured in dollars, but in risk. Every action carries an expected cost. Burglary, fraud, robbery, violence. Whenever the law changes that expected cost, behavior changes. Why do we lock our doors? Not because locks are morally superior, because they make burglary more expensive. Alarms, cameras, police, punishment. Every one of these raises the expected cost of aggression. Self-defense laws are part of that same incentive structure, not just about what happens after violence, but about shaping decisions before it begins. Now, we can finally understand why different countries reach different legal conclusions. Not because human life has different value, but because every system answers the same question differently. Who should carry the risk of violent escalation? The attacker, the victim, or the state? However a society answers, it changes the expectations of everyone involved, not only victims, but offenders too. Law doesn't simply judge yesterday's actions, it shapes tomorrow's decisions. Most people think laws exist to resolve conflicts. Praxeology suggests something deeper. Laws shape the choices people make long before those conflicts ever occur. So perhaps the real question isn't how much force should self-defense allow, but which legal system creates the strongest incentives to prevent violence in the first place? Because in the end, human behavior isn't shaped by good intentions alone, it's shaped by incentives. And that's why self-defense isn't just a legal question, it's an economic one.